So, welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to this simple session. Now, let's examine what is this? Well, this is a TV remote. What is this? This is a battery. And what is the voltage of this battery? You can carefully see that its voltage is written as 1.5 volts here. Notice that this is a zinc dabba, this is a zinc box, and the zinc box is given minus sign. Minus sign means here it is a negative terminal, I call it as anode. And this is a carbon rod here embedded inside. Both are separated by a plastic thing, and this carbon rod is cathode. This is the story of this cell. Let us see how it works a little later. At the moment, this has a voltage of 1.5 volts. We hear often that due to high voltage, this TV died and that refrigerator died, so on. So, the voltage, high voltage difference is the thing that allows the flow of electrons from one point to other point. And this flow of electrons, as you know, is called as electric current. In the primitive stages, how it got developed, let us examine quickly in this video. There is something called a Daniel cell, about which you heard. Daniel cell, voltaic cell, galvanic cell, all these are electrochemical cells. For example, you take a container, put a zinc rod, take another container, put copper rod. Here you put a solution of zinc sulfate, say 1 molar aqueous solution. Here put a solution of copper sulfate 1 molar. And now if you connect these two fellows, one interesting thing you can observe that the zinc has a tendency to lose electrons to give zinc ions and 2 electrons when connected to a copper rod which is kept in a solution that has copper ions. This natural tendency is there for zinc to lose electrons because copper plus 2 ions can suck the electrons through the external circuit. Now, of course, when zinc is losing electrons, it will become zinc ion, and I call it as oxidation. I want you to remember anox. You know what is anox? Anox means at anode there is oxidation happening. Also remember red cat. Red cat means reduction is happening at cathode. Therefore, the zinc rod can potential anode, and this copper rod can act as potential cathode, where electrons are flowing from zinc to copper ions, where copper ions are gaining these 2 electrons to become copper metal. Theoretically, when these electrons are flowing, if you put here a bulb is supposed to glow. Sir, why the zinc has a tendency to lose electrons? Why the copper has a tendency to gain electrons? How actually these tendencies are measured? This we answer a little later, and we call it as a electrode potential, and we measure in terms of standard reduction potentials using something called She. Always the electrode potentials are measured with She. She is always important. What is She? She is standard hydrogen electrode, about which we learn a little later. At the moment, this is the thing. But the problem is the electrons flow momentarily and the bulb switches off. Why the bulb is switched off? Because as this anode compartment is becoming more and more richer in zinc ions, originally number of zinc ions is equal to sulfate ions, but because the zinc ions are coming afresh, concentration of positive ions is increasing in this compartment. At the same time, here copper ions are lost in the right hand side compartment. Therefore, here the number of copper ions in the solution will decrease and sulfate ions will increase. Therefore, the increase in positive ions would not allow the electrons to get out. The increased sulfate ions would not allow the electrons to come in. Therefore, the reaction stops. To continuously allow the flow of electrons, we put a U-shaped glass tube that is filled with some saturated solution of KCl. Here it is plugged with something called agar-agar gel, and we put it here. This is called a salt bridge. The salt bridge will allow the smooth flow of electrons because the excess zinc ions and excess sulfate ions are allowed to pass through this. So salt bridge is essentially required to ensure the smooth flow of electrons. Notice that this reaction between zinc and copper electrodes, overall reaction can be written like this. Such spontaneous reactions will generate the electric current, and these are called electrochemical cells. Can you give examples for 3 spontaneous reactions, 3 non-spontaneous reactions? And these questions I asked you in the previous video. For those questions and a little more relevant information, please see the comment part in this video. At the moment, this is for today. Look at for today's questions in the video comment part. Thank you.